Humanity once stood closer to knowing everything than we are today. And somehow, that knowledge slipped quietly through our fingers. It didn't vanish in a single night or a single war. It disappeared through neglect, fear, and ordinary human decisions. There was once a place built to hold every idea humanity could imagine. Not just books, but maps of stars, medicine, history, and forgotten worlds. It was humanity's first attempt to remember everything, and also humanity's first great failure to protect knowledge. Stay with me. This story is not about fire, but forgetting. Alexandria was not built to rule armies, but to rule understanding. Its founders believed knowledge itself could unify the world. Scrolls arrived from distant lands, carried by traders, sailors, and conquerors. No single culture owned the truth inside those walls. Greek philosophy stood beside Egyptian science and Eastern mathematics, but ideas are powerful. And power always attracts fear. To question knowledge was to question authority itself. Long before the flames, something else began to fade. Fewer minds remained to defend what truly mattered. The mission to preserve knowledge slowly lost its urgency. Human memory, it turns out, is far more fragile than stone. Political tension crept closer to the halls of learning. What once felt sacred began to feel dangerous. The world rarely notices loss while it's still preventable. Alexandria stood at the edge of forgetting itself. What happens when knowledge has no defenders left? This story is not about who burned the library. It is about why no one stopped it. Because Alexandria was not the last place humanity forgot itself. Its loss echoed far beyond its walls and centuries. To understand what vanished, we must step inside how Alexandria truly lived. Each day began quietly, with minds awakening long before the city outside stirred. Scholars came not for power, but for questions they could not answer alone. This was a place where rivals shared ideas before they ever shared borders. Knowledge here was not sacred spectacle. It was daily discipline and constant effort. Languages were broken apart, rebuilt, and reborn into something everyone could understand. No ruler owned these ideas. They belonged to anyone willing to think deeply. Here, belief bowed quietly before evidence, observation, and careful reasoning. They measured stars, mapped lands, studied bodies, and questioned the nature of existence. Despite its scale, the library was deeply human, shaped by patience and doubt. Meals were simple, conversations silent, thoughts endlessly loud inside their minds. Learning flowed freely, without ranks, without sermons, without enforced conclusions. Not all knowledge here was new. Much of it was rescued from oblivion. They trusted fragile papyrus to carry ideas meant to outlive empires. Everyone knew time was limited, even if they never spoke it aloud. Beyond these walls, politics moved faster than understanding ever could. Some ideas frightened leaders more than armies ever had. Restrictions appeared quietly, disguised as protection, order, or moral necessity. Questions slowly became fewer, not because answers existed, but because fear grew. Knowledge began retreating inward, waiting for safer times that never arrived. From outside, everything still looked calm, organized, and eternal. Inside, something essential had already started slipping away. There was no alarm, no warning sound, no moment demanding urgent action. Humans rarely defend what still seems permanent. The library lived through people, not stone, shelves, or walls. When people leave, memory leaves with them. Knowledge without guardians becomes vulnerable, no matter how vast it once was. Long before destruction, Alexandria began disappearing in silence. This pattern would repeat again and again throughout human history. What was lost here cannot be measured, only felt. And then came the moment everyone remembers, but almost nobody truly understands. The world outside Alexandria was changing faster than knowledge could protect itself. Empires rose, rulers changed, and priorities quietly drifted away from preserving understanding. What could not serve power immediately was slowly dismissed as unnecessary. Guards protected walls and borders, not fragile ideas written on paper. Alexandria believed itself eternal, immune to chaos consuming lesser cities. Damage did not arrive as destruction, but as neglect disguised as normal change. Later generations would argue endlessly about how the fire truly began. War, politics, religion, and carelessness all share responsibility for what followed. Some blamed Julius Caesar, others blamed time itself. The library did not vanish in one night, but across generations of loss. Scrolls burned without screens, without witnesses, without anyone truly stopping it. Works on medicine, astronomy, engineering. Philosophy disappeared without leaving names behind. We do not even know exactly what was lost. There was no final speech, no heroic defense, no dramatic ending. Only fragments survived, quoted indirectly by people centuries later. Humanity adapted, rebuilt, and forgot what it once almost understood. The loss left a permanent scar on human intellectual history. As facts faded, myths filled the silence left behind. We kept asking, who destroyed it, instead of why it was unprotected. This was not a failure of fire, but of responsibility. Civilizations keep repeating this mistake in different forms. Alexandria marked the moment humanity chose power over preservation. After Alexandria, knowledge would scatter, fragment, and hide. Centuries passed before humanity rebuilt what was lost. What if the library had survived just a little longer? Our science, medicine, and understanding might look very different today. Some knowledge, once gone, never returns. Alexandria became humanity's first great test of wisdom, and we failed that test quietly. But the story does not end with ashes. Knowledge did not live in buildings alone, but inside fragile human minds. Scholars traveled from across the known world to learn and teach. Here, Euclid transformed geometry into a system humanity would use for thousands of years. Archimedes imagined machines, mathematics, and physics far ahead of his age. Eratosthenes measured the earth using shadows, curiosity, and pure reasoning. Hipparchus mapped stars precisely, laying foundations for astronomy still used today. Callimachus organized knowledge itself, creating humanity's first great library catalog. Ideas here were debated, challenged, refined, and preserved through constant discussion. Early rulers protected the library, believing knowledge strengthened their empire. Ptolemy I envisioned Alexandria as a beacon of universal understanding. Ships entering Alexandria were searched for books to be copied. Copies were sent back, while originals stayed permanently in Alexandria. Knowledge was meant to belong to humanity, not a single nation. But even brilliant minds depend on protection they cannot control. As rulers changed, devotion to preserving knowledge slowly weakened. Some scholars fled, carrying fragments of Alexandria inside their memories. Ideas survived by traveling beyond Alexandria's walls. Alexandria's influence spread through Rome, Baghdad, and beyond. Translations preserved concepts even when original texts disappeared forever. Knowledge survived by changing form, language, and culture. Despite destruction, Alexandria quietly shaped the future. Human curiosity outlived stone walls and burning shelves. Yet humanity continues risking knowledge for power and control. Alexandria warns us without speaking. The responsibility to preserve knowledge now belongs to us. Memory is the last library no fire can destroy. The story of Alexandria transforms into a story about humanity. Understanding the past prepares us for what follows. Now we ask, what Alexandria truly left behind? The answers may surprise you. Without Alexandria, humanity restarted knowledge more than once across centuries. We cannot list what was lost because it vanished completely. Entire sciences may have existed, then disappeared without leaving names behind. Ancient scholars discussed evolution, atoms, and astronomy centuries before modern science. The library was not destroyed in one night or one event. Alexandria faded through neglect, politics, and changing priorities. Its destruction was not natural, but deeply human. Some ideas survived, traveling into Islamic, Roman, and later European worlds. Baghdad preserved and expanded fragments of Alexandria's legacy. Centuries later, Europe rediscovered knowledge Alexandria once protected. Human progress depends on uninterrupted chains of memory. Alexandria reminds us how easily those chains can break. Knowledge does not protect itself. People must protect it. Even today, information disappears through censorship, neglect, and indifference. The story of Alexandria is still repeating. Civilizations fall when they stop valuing knowledge. Curiosity survives longer than empires. What knowledge today might future generations never recover? Alexandria speaks loudest through what it cannot tell us. Stone libraries fall, but memory can endure. This film exists because stories must be remembered. Thank you for staying until the end of this journey. Your curiosity keeps lost civilizations alive. The past lives as long as we choose to understand it. Together, we rebuild history one story at a time. Alexandria did not end, it transformed. What we preserve today defines tomorrow. Perhaps the greatest loss was forgetting why knowledge matters. What would our world be if Alexandria had survived? Thank you for being here and for remembering.